Good evening. Tonight, Tuesday, is the always enjoyable Reading, Writing, and Ralph, where we get to meet fabulous authors and answer trivia for free books. So, yeah, that's right. If you answer one of the trivia questions correctly, you get a free signed copy of tonight's guest book. And tonight, Ralph welcomes Kim Cataldo Thompson, author of Amen to the Garden, Dandelions to Dinner. And so, as always, on trivia, Google is allowed, collaboration is encouraged. So, without further ado, let's welcome Ralph. Hello,
Hello,
Ralph.
Grace.
How are you?
Great. How are you doing today?
Good, good. I'm glad to have you back.
Thanks. And tonight we will have a bonus question at the end. So there's 4 opportunities to win a book tonight. So I hope our guests are getting ready for some exciting trivia questions. And I tell you, these are a little different and a little bit challenging. So Kim Cataldo Thompson is passionate about organic gardening and recipes for things coming out of the garden. And it's a wonderful book with great pictures of the dishes and recipes. And I'm sure she's going to share those and the stories behind them with us tonight. So I'm looking forward to this interview.
Yeah, no, it should be good. I'm excited to show off the photos. I'm excited to see who's going to get these trivia questions. Some of them, they're pretty fun tonight. I'm not going to lie. These are some of my favorite ones. So I guess I will let you and Kim take it away.
Thank you. Hi, Kim.
Hey, hi, Ralph. Thanks so much for having me on.
Oh, it's a pleasure having you. I'm glad to have you. And we were just talking about tonight's questions, and we have a bonus question to go along with our standard 3. Thanks to your kindness. And
I think they're going to be great. Yeah. I've been looking
I
forward to this interview for months.
fabulous. Yeah, I know the reading, writing, and Ralph calendar is just taking off, and it's filled up out through April of next year already, which is just
That's amazing.
delightful. And I'm glad it's people are interested in getting on and telling their stories, and the viewers want to hear about the authors and their background. But before we start, because we do have 4 questions
Sure.
potentially tonight, I want to give them the first trivia question, and that is,
Awesome.
which flower represents 3 celestial bodies in the phases of its life cycle? And one hint is it's also the B-side of a Rolling Stones hit. And if my friend Stuart's on tonight, he'll know that right away. But anyway, what individual flower represents 3 celestial bodies during its life cycle? Hint, it's also the B-side of a Rolling Stones 45. So Kim, tell the audience about yourself, your background, where you grew up, what life was like.
Sure, life was like. Yes, I grew up in Western Mass, Holyoke, near Springfield, Longmeadow, and was your typical life, average growing up, and went to an all women's high school, then on to college at Norton, Mass. Actually, it went co-ed the year I graduated. So, but no, I grew up with a big, half Italian family, and the other half was German English. So there was a lot of food around. So that's pretty much where I gathered all of my love for gardening and food, because it was just always around. That's what I was used to, and it's how I got inspired for everything. Pretty much was my family.
So let me. You're part Italian, part German, I think you said, and
Yep.
English. So you've
Yep.
got pretty much the Western Europe. And I grew up in an all Italian family. So let me paint a picture for you. Sunday morning, we all go to church, come back,
Yep.
and we had I'll call it a family compound. There was 4 apartments. And when my mother came back, my grandmother came back from church. She went to 8 o'clock mass, so she was back in the house by 9 something. By the time I rolled in at 10:30, I could already smell what she was cooking. She was
The
making
Sunday
the
gravy.
gravy, meatballs, and sausage. And then the
Oh
family
my
started
gosh.
showing up, and I watched her. And And, for so many years, every Sunday, this went on 52 weeks a year. She missed. Did you
And that's
experience
a
the
big
same,
deal.
even though it's three different countries?
I couldn't hear that question. It
Was
went
the,
out, but
but there was the experience very much the same in your household?
um, my dad was Italian, so I'm half Italian, and his mom and father, yes, also lived in Holyoke. So all the events and holidays and things went through there. And yeah, it was just food. I mean, my dad would make his sauce all the time. And of course, it's just loaded with everything: sausage, meatballs, ribs, can't give it away, chicken, beef, all of it. Nobody could replicate it. But it, Sundays were the same for me. It started with church. We'd go to church. And if my mom didn't go, she was Lutheran. Uh, I was Catholic, and we would stop off, and my favorite part was getting the cannolis on the way home, which was didn't always make mom happy with the treats, but it was a favorite. And then along came the donuts when you couldn't get cannolis. But yeah, it was really great, and I had lots of family. I had lots of relatives in Boston area and Massachusetts, and my mom's side is from Michigan, so we did a lot of summers there, and that was a lot of brats and sausage and just a lot of cooking all around wherever we were. And it's just family togetherness. That's really what it was all, was being together. It didn't matter what you were eating, really. It was just there. It was excellent. You ate it and had a blast.
So let me ask the question where I was taking this. None of that was organic. None of it, not none
Uh,
of it, a lot of it wasn't very healthy. So how did you make the leap from that background to organic gardening and healthy eating? Walk the viewers through that.
well, I think it's a necessity when you go through certain experiences in your life. And my mom was always very health conscious. And even way back in the day, I think everything was organic, but it wasn't. It was, the word had to come out to decipher between the foods that were sprayed and the foods that weren't. Um, because I always just thought back in the day, everything was just great, but as time goes on and you have certain things happen in your life, or just, certain experiences, and if you experience a health difficulty, you sort of move in a different direction. And I just wanted to do the best I could for my kids. I mean, I got married in 1990 and my daughter was born in 1993. And so, of course, you get that mom instinct right away, and you just, I can't, you just have to do everything the best that you can. At least that's what I tried to do, Um, but today, I don't know. I think it just morphs, really, It just goes along as you go along, and, things arise and you have to change things, like the gluten issue. That's far down the road. We'll get to that later if you want. But, um, I just learned and was influenced by the women in, my side of the family. And I think when, you get influenced by your mother and what she did, and she was always health conscious. And, we couldn't wait to go to our cousin's house because it was like, God, we could get some, ring dings and some junk food, because we never had that at the house. Early on, she would have the Twinkies in the lunchbox or something. But I mean, honestly, it wasn't there. We didn't have soda. So, I do the same thing with my kids, and that's, harder today when my kids were growing up, because it was just the norm for everybody to have soda and, the packaged foods that were so convenient, of course. Um, so things get better as they go along. That's the way I looked at it. Same with cooking and gardening.
So, and your book, Amen to the Garden, Dandelions to Dinner, was a big book winner. Tell us about that experience when you were named, given such an honor in 2020?
That was a real shock, honestly, because the pandemic happened and I really forgot about the book for a year. It came out um, around late August or August 2019. So, once the pandemic rolled around, I just didn't even think about the book. I didn't, do anything about it. And I knew that the award was coming out, I think sometime in November. But I do remember just being overwhelmed. I had over 10,000 emails, so I deleted everything. And, then one day I was sitting here at my computer and I thought, I wonder if I ever won that award. And so, of course, there was no email or whatever. So I went to the website and I'm just scrolling, thinking, oh, I must not have won. I didn't get the email. And then I saw my book. And then I saw it in distinguished favorites. And I was just like, oh my God, oh my God. It was kind of the same way when I first saw my book on Amazon. It was like, no way, this just isn't real, because it was such a long, stressful experience, let's say. And so when it was finally said and done, it was a really nice, thrilling thing to have happen. I won one in May too,
What award
2021.
was that?
That
You
was
won it
the
again?
Independent Press Award. No, this one was Independent Press Award in two categories: the cookbooks general, and then for gardening.
Yeah,
So
that's
that
got to
was
make you
another
feel
surprise.
very proud when you go through something like that and then you get a distinguished award or two. It's just amazing. So, dandelions to dinner. How did you develop catchphrase?
Well, it didn't
Dandelions
come
to
to me
dinner.
right
Yeah.
away. It didn't come to me right away, but my family, dad's side, loves dandelions. They always did, and my dad used to tell me stories that he would go out and pick dandelions for dinner. And with my garden, I always eat dandelions. I put them in smoothies and all this stuff. And I had all these book titles that I didn't like, and I didn't want farm to table. It just it had been done before, and it just wasn't what I wanted. And what happened was I was looking through a file that I had because previous to the book, someone was like, you've got to get a website. You've got to get a website. So I was going through this pile of stuff, and then I see Dandelions to Dinner because I had that for the name of a website. And that just sparked. That's the name of the book. That the Amen was there from the beginning because the original book I wanted to write was going to be Amen, a tradition of food and family, something like that. And that would have highlighted both sides of traditions from holidays and things like that. And then plus the Amen comes from singing the Amen song before holiday dinners and, really loud, hey. So that's where that came from. So
Wow. Well, the traditions come through in a lot of the recipes, and as we get into the detail of that in a little bit, we'll talk about it more. Now, when you think of yourself, because you're combining elements here, how do you think of yourself as a chef, a gardener, a cook? What do you really view yourself as?
I just was a mother. That's what I viewed myself as. I mean, when I became an empty nester, that was the real question. What am I? Who am I? What am I supposed to do now that I'm not raising kids? Because I worked for many, many years. And then once my kids were born, I stayed home. But I just call myself a cook. I never was trained in school or anything for either gardening or cooking. So it's just something that I love to do. And it just evolved over all the years. And, when you got kids, you got to feed them. So that's where it really just began. And the kids all helped with the garden and everything. And hopefully they'll carry on some of those traditions. But I just view myself as, I really did just their mom, taking care of kids. I love that.
Yeah, well, it's a big part of, I think, what a lot of women go through when they stay at home and take care of the kids, and then when the kids leave, it's, where are you? You have to figure
Yeah,
out where you
exactly.
go from there.
And
But
that was when I started the book.
so if you had to uh, pick a couple of well-known chefs that you admire, who would they be?
Well, my favorite all-time idol would be Julia Child. Um, I just I just love her from the very beginning. My parents would always watch her show, and I'd sit right in on that because if they were watching other shows, or my dad, like, I couldn't be in the room, especially if MASH was on or something like that. But I could watch Julia Child, and I loved her. I just loved her humor, obviously, but she always just, the way she taught her cooking was that anyone could do it. It's no big deal, just anyone can do it. And then, of course, when you see her on Saturday Night Live, that's just hysterical. But I also loved Emeril Lagasse. He's awesome. He always reminded me of my dad with the black eyebrows, and of course, both from Boston, Boston area. I think Emerald was Fall River. So yeah, the
Mhm.
same from my state. So that was interesting. But it was those early on chefs that were on public TV, like PBS or WGBH was Boston. So people like Natalie Dupre and, way back, Justin Wilson and Paul Prudhomme, all those guys. Um, which where Emerald went, actually, to work at Commander's Palace for Paul Prudhomme in New Orleans. So yeah, I watched all those guys early on, and definite influences. And today there's just so many to name, but off the top of my head, in this area, Jose Andres, who has many restaurants here, and just does outstanding humanitarian work when, during disasters and relief. He's incredible. And Barefoot Contessa, need I say more? Love her. So yeah, there's tons.
Now, I can't remember any of them cooking with dandelions.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think people would cook with a lot of stuff I cook with, Uh,
Yeah,
but hopefully I can inspire some to do that.
yeah. There's a lot of good cooks. Emerald is, yeah, he's top. Julia Childs, of course. But
Yeah.
of course, we always admire the ones that we remember in our life, right? Like our
Right.
grandmothers and our mothers.
Right. Right. As
Mark,
far as chefs, yeah.
the let's talk about some of the dishes, because I think that's what people like to hear, and I think it'll also play into some of the photos that we have. You tried to keep, I think, some of the European traditions in those dishes, from what I could tell. But which one is your favorite of all the ones you wrote in there?
Well, I think all of our favorites, our top favorite, would be the chicken parmigiana, of course. I mean, the chicken parm, that was a favorite request for anything. And yeah, if you had a birthday dinner around here, you got to choose what you wanted to have for your birthday meal. And that was a big thing. And, of course, veal francese is always nice. And today you just don't get a lot of veal, but you have a winner.
We have a winner. Yes, we have a winner.
Yes.
Grace.
So the winner was Wayne Houlihan, and the correct answer was the dandelion.
Dandelion. I saw he came close with a different Rolling
Yes.
Stones song, but it wasn't
Guessed
Dandelion.
again, and he got it right.
But we'll take this opportunity to ask the second question. So, Julia Child's kitchen, you have to answer. You have to give two answers here. Julia Child's kitchen, where was its original location, the city and state? And then it was moved. So, where is its current location? So, Julia Child's kitchen, where was it originally located, city and state, and where is it now? What location? So yeah, those are two terrific. Chicken Parmesan, if you put that one back up, that one looks so good. It's one of my favorite things to make, but I don't think I get anywhere near that kind of presentation. How do you get it so perfect like that?
I don't know. That must have been luck. But, I like to pound it out. Usually the meat is the size of the plate. And I keep it light with the accompaniments just because it's such a rich dish. It looks different every time I make it, I have to say.
Yeah.
But it does. And then sometimes you just, you don't have as much cheese because you're eating it while you make it. But there's tons of.
I have to go back to the store for more ingredients.
Yeah, don't eat the mozzarella or the parm on the way out.
Oh my gosh! So, one that caught my eye, we'll flip back and forth, was the thick cut potato chips, and you had them seasoned and loaded with stuff. Tell the audience about those.
Give me a potato, I can do anything with it. That's got to be the German side. My mom loves potatoes, and I could live off potatoes probably. I just love them. So the roasted potatoes, probably my all-time favorite. But when I became an empty nester, I went to these chips because it would be my meal with the stuff on top. So it's simple. You just slice them, rub a little olive oil on, bake them, and then you got your chips. And plus, I'm addicted to potato chips, so I would force myself to make these to be healthier.
So I can ask the question: it's healthy because they certainly look good, and you had them loaded with, I guess, some chives and some other stuff, and they just look so delicious.
I had some probably lamb's quarters or something from the garden. Any greens from the garden, just saute it up, put it on there. Hot peppers, of course.
And we have a winner on the second question. See, the audience is heating up already now.
Oh my God, that was quick.
That was quick.
Yeah, so the winner of the second question is Mary Wadland, and the correct answer was Cambridge, Massachusetts for the original location of her kitchen, and it is now in the Smithsonian, specifically the National Museum of American History.
Great.
Excellent.
That's fabulous. Good job, Mary. So we'll ask the third question right here. So while we have them on a roll, so what is the hottest pepper in the world? And it may not be what people think, but what is the hottest pepper in the world? And this was a great question. This is courtesy of Kim. This is nothing to do with this. So you guys, if there's any debate on the answer,
I grow them. So if any of my friends are listening, you're going to know what that is.
Okay. So the lemon pasta looked like a great dish for this time of year. Tell the audience about that one.
That's another good one. And that probably evolved. Probably before my daughter was 3, I started making that pasta because it just was easy. Number one, you could throw any meat in there or you could leave it out. In fact, we like it with garden tomato, salmon. But my family loves lemon. I love lemon, and it just became a go-to recipe. And if I needed something really quick, I would make that recipe because you can, make it and put it right in the same pot and then serve it, and then you're on the road. Or you can freeze it. But pasta, any way you look at it, for my family is a winner. So it doesn't really matter.
And what kind of wine would they pair with that?
Well, I'm not a big wine person, but I would say any good Chardonnay, or I do like a crisp, peppery Italian wine. I don't like them too sweet. But of course, if it was a gravy or a tomato sauce recipe, my dad would always have the red. But yeah, I was never a huge wine drinker because it was a headache for me.
Well, and I'll interject a story about my grandfather and sitting at the Sunday kitchen table. So the children always had their separate table. You know that. You had a big family, I
At
imagine.
holidays. Oh yeah.
And the adults were in a different room. And if you felt that you were adult enough to sit at the main table with other adults, a teenager or young, preteen, if you sat down, the first thing he would do was put a half glass of wine in front of you. And you had to drink that wine to maintain your place at the table. So if you didn't drink that wine, you didn't come back until you could. So they had their
But you
ways
came
of,
back, didn't you?
keeping order. Some of us
But did you
did.
like it? You keep going back?
Oh, he did. He made wine in the basement, and it was pretty healthy from
Awesome.
the moonshine taste.
Yeah. Oh wow,
You know,
that's interesting.
but
That's awesome. Yeah, but the separate tables are for sure. But we definitely had our sips of wine, and especially if they left the glass hanging around and everybody's doing something else, then it's free reign.
so what other recipes in your book would be great for summer months as we wind down and move into August? I mean, into autumn, not August.
Yeah, yeah. I really love the zucchini. The zucchini always is coming in, and the cucumbers have been really great this year. And I love to make that raw, no bake lasagna. It uses. I make a pesto. I make a ricotta out of pine nuts that you can fool anyone, and they'll think it's ricotta cheese, and it's not. Let's see. And then you just use fresh tomatoes for the tomato sauce. And you can use zucchini or cucumbers.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. Oh, you could also make the roasted tomato soup. Looking at that picture, that's what that reminds me of.
Now, are those tomatoes and that basil grown in your garden?
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Absolutely. I have to say, this year's been sort of a bummer on the tomatoes because of all the rain we've had. That always, they don't produce as much, and then they get the rot on the bottom of the tomato. But yeah, things always rotate to what's good and what's not. So you have to sort of just use what you have or find at the market. And anything with tomato, BLTs, of course, is a winner. And you don't have to turn your oven on for that, only to do the bacon, and then you're set. But other meals I've made out of the book, page 76, the Green Gazpacho. And I've been going to that for the past couple of weeks. I keep making it. It's with grapes, and it's got a little zucchini. It's got, what else is it? Cucumbers, to use all those cucumbers up. A little avocado, and you blend it all up. It's really nice for a lunch or just when you're before dinner. But I like things light when it's really hot out. I really don't get that, totally. You
Yes.
don't want to get your kitchen all hot. But when I've got my son living, my youngest has been here after he graduated college and through the pandemic, and he absolutely adores cooking. So he whips up some major dishes, and we cook together. It's a blast.
Wow. So he's picking up his mother's skills and then
Yeah.
some.
And I trained him well, because you know what? All I have to say is, wow, I'd love some gnocchi. And then there it is, which he did the other night. So I was like, I think I've got the way to do it. Just say I'm in the mood for this, and then just wait a few hours and see what happens.
There you go. We have a winner for the third question. Grace?
Yes, so it's a good thing. It's a good thing we have that bonus question, because Wayne Houlihan got this question correct again, and the correct answer was the Carolina Reaper. And the ranking, or like the units used to measure heat or spiciness, are the Scoville units, and the Carolina Reaper was ranked at 2.2 million Scoville units. So yeah,
that sounds
careful.
hot. So we'll give everybody the bonus question right now, but good job, Wayne. So, what weed grows in your garden, and contains the highest omega-3 fatty acids out of any leafy greens, and it's in the same family as a common flower that also grows in the garden? So again, what weed that grows in the garden contains the highest omega-3 fatty acids and easy to cook with? So let's get on, since we're talking about light stuff and it's the summer. So everybody always wants a nice, cooling dessert. So talk about some of the desserts in your
Oh
that
my gosh.
cook.
That's where I don't come in. I do, if I want something cold, I'll do a smoothie, but I'm not a huge dessert maker. Um, my son loves to do desserts, but of course, when the kids were growing up, I would make dessert. But smoothies, I love them.
Now
I can't live
that's a
without a
smoothie
smoothie
right
every
there.
day. That's a
What kind of
chocolate.
smoothie?
Yeah, that's chocolate banana. That's the
Wow,
chocolate mint banana. Yeah, it's got
that
three
looks
types of mint. It's got chocolate mint, peppermint, and spearmint. And
and
that is a,
spearmint.
yeah. I mean, if we
Wow.
do have to do a dessert for, I'm sort of speaking as the kids have moved out, so there isn't all that, and then the pandemic, you're not really whipping up desserts, but anything with fruit and just a scoop of ice cream is just really good. But my son's a big,
We
I
got
mean,
some.
fortunately, he's cooking a lot of things that I don't eat because they're gluten, so that's a good thing.
So are there any recipes in your book that a novice cook might look at and say, "Wait, this is too complicated. I don't want to touch this"? Or are they all pretty easy?
I think they're all pretty easy. I mean, it's like the hardest meal for me to cook would be the one I didn't prepare for, because that's the whole thing. I mean, if you walk in your kitchen at 6:30 and say, "Oh my gosh, I have to start dinner now," it's too late, for me, and it happens to me all the time. If I don't have anything ready or I don't know what I'm going to cook, then it's just forget about it. But I think anyone can do these dishes. They're fairly easy, and I give some tips on things that you can start early and prep early, like a bunch of the salads. I mean, wash and have the lettuce ready to go, because even if I have all this great lettuce sitting around, if it's not washed by 6, 7 o'clock, forget it. We're not having lettuce. So yeah, exactly.
Now, where do they rank? Where do these recipes rank on the messy scale?
Ooh, the messy scale. Well, I think in the cookbook I don't have any actual fried recipes. I do baked fried. Um, And the messy scale is just maybe just the ones that have a lot of steps. So you got to just do your dishes as you're going along. You sort of get better at doing that. Chicken parm can be pretty messy, but it's worth it.
We're back to the chicken parm. Yeah, it's because of the
Yeah,
gravy, though, more than anything else. And
yeah, exactly.
so I'm going to throw an organic dinner party. Give me the 3 best things to serve besides the chicken parm.
Well, you have to start off with a dip. I always have to have something for guests to snack on. And you can't go wrong with the Boursin cheese dip, because that'll use all your fresh herbs from the garden and it just tastes so good. You can make that the day ahead and that's ready to go. And then I love to just maybe have a quick salad. Either if I'm having more than say 7 or 8, I'll do a huge bowl of salad. But if it's just my family, I like to do those wedges because it's easy to just put on a plate and serve that, or a light soup, which I love to start meals with, a light soup, and then maybe do something just simple for summer, which would be grilled vegetables and meats on the grill. That is the easiest thing to do. And you can do anything you want with it. I mean, the zucchini goes on the grill. I even put potato slices on the grill. So you can do everything. And what I do when I have company is you can never go wrong with a mixed grill with sausage or all types of different meats. And then you make up a good chimichurri sauce to go with it. And then you're
Oh,
set. And then hopefully
wow.
somebody brings dessert.
somebody will. Somebody will. A nice traditional Italian ricotta cheesecake, maybe with a little
Yeah.
amaretto in it to flavor it,
Oh yeah,
top it
with
off.
your the cookies, or you gotta have your ice cream. Yeah, you make cannolis are always good, or the
Cannolis.
pizzelles. You know, if this was
Oh,
a tradition book,
pizzelles,
there would
yeah.
be pizzelles in there. Did you make those?
My grandmother used to make them, and the
Yeah.
babas, the little rum balls. They were
Mm-hmm.
they were always good, but
Yeah.
it's quite a.
Can
So, what's the most challenging meal you've ever cooked? Where during it you were basically pulling your hair out.
Oh, that would have to be an Indian meal, because as much as we love Indian food, it is you just have to start days in advance, and that's not a joke. Usually, a recipe for an Indian meal has maybe 3 to 4 different recipes within the recipe. So you can't
Mm,
actually start the recipe till you have all those other components, marinating or glazing, or, just in addition to another part after it's marinated. It's always so worth it. And yeah, we've had a couple of accidents with some Indian meals with a NutriBullet explosion and just, peri peri sauce all over the ceiling, which is still kind of there, but it's all right. It's okay. Nobody looks up. But I would say, yeah, Indian meals are very complicated because there are so many steps. But it's really nice to do. It's an accomplishment, and we always use the cookbook from our favorite restaurant in downtown DC, which is Rasika, and they have a
okay,
cookbook. And the restaurant, if you can't eat there, you can make it, and it's well worth the time. But
that's a good
get a
restaurant.
buddy in the kitchen with you.
So, what's next for Kim? Where do you go from here? What?
Um, well, I'm a big studier, like lifelong learner, I would like to say. I mean, been studying naturopathic medicine for over 20 years, and um, actually just signed up for another class the other day. And I'd like to get my health coaching going. I'm a pseudo health coach. I haven't put the focus on that as of yet, but that's really a direction I love. I love helping kids. I love the elderly, of course. It's one of my biggest things would be to get some healthy foods in assisted living places, and same with schools. So there's a lot of change that I think can happen in those two arenas. And I mean, the ones that need it the most, in my opinion. And so that's where I'd like to spend my direction
Some
going
admirable
in.
ambitions there. I hope that you can accomplish what you want.
Well,
But
thank you.
good.
Thank you.
Well, it's been a pleasure, and you've been a terrific guest, and it's a wonderful
Well,
cookbook for everybody out there.
well,
I've
thank
looked
you. I
at it, and
appreciate.
I've I've done at least 2 recipes. I've done the basil and tomato. I added a little
Oh,
onion in there too to spice it up.
good. See, that's what you
Um,
have to do. You make it your own. That's what I love to hear.
yeah. So it's a fun book, and everybody will enjoy it. And it was great to hear the stories, and I wish you all the
I'd love to
best
hear
on.
more of yours. I'd love to hear more
We'd
of
be here all
yours.
night.
I know, I know. Well, I appreciate you so much having me on and talking with your audience today. It's been a great pleasure for me. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming on.
All right. Thank you guys both so much for being here. It was great to see all of those photos of just all of the fresh vegetables and herbs that
Oh,
you have from your garden. And I'm
thank
excited
you.
to see what people do with their new cookbooks, what recipes they
I
cook.
hope they do.
Yeah, that would
And
be awesome.
next week we have another exciting author, another award-winning author. Gosh, um, it's so much fun having folks that win awards on. It's just great. Maria Pisano and her second uh, book, Barefoot to Stilettos, Finding My Yes. And
Ah,
it's going to be another exciting conversation. I can tell you that much, because her book is not a cookbook, but it is filled with a lot of juicy
it
elements.
sounds
So
awesome. Sounds
it's
awesome.
going to be
Maybe my next step is barefoot to stilettos. You never know.
so it's going to be an interesting conversation next week. That's for sure.
All right. Well, thank you both so much for tonight, and I look forward to next time.
Thank
Great.
you, Grace. Thank you, Ralph.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys, that's it for tonight. Like Ralph said, next week, another award-winning author, Maria Paisano. She wrote Barefoot to Stilettos, Finding My Yes. So that is going to be an exciting one to listen to, an exciting life story. It's Tuesday, so we still have 2 more nights of ZTV for the week. So tune in again, as always, 7 o'clock on Facebook. And until then, be the good news in someone's life.